Hello, guys, and welcome back. This is Pete Dahlgren, building the Mirror Smiles F86. This is probably the most valuable video that I'm going to do when it comes to talking about getting everything ready for sheeting because now we're doing the final body work. I just put the final piece on this fuselage. There is no more sheeting to do anywhere on this fuselage, okay? This is the video that is pretty much a law abiding citizen's guide to safety, your sanity, and everything else that makes you a builder. And this is going to be just before we start glassing, because as soon as I get done getting all this done and filled, I will start glassing. This means that it is time that we double check every single joint. We back glue every single piece there is. We do all of our basic shaping. Do not over sand your fuselages, guys. Don't do it. You will make it so thin it's crazy. This all looks really nice and beautiful right now. But I've got some gaps. I've got some dings. I got some dents. This area right here needs to be filled. I fill before I do glassing. The reason you can do it either way, it's up to you how you do this. But, and you'll notice I got no gear doors cut here yet or nothing. That's not something that we're going to worry about. And we're not going to worry about that now because that can be done, and it's actually easier and better if we do it. To me, it's easier and better to do it after I get it glass, because then I can make my mold off of this particular part for my gear doors and all this stuff, and I'll show you how I do that. And we're going to start doing a lot of live videos at this point because there's a lot of things that you're all going to have to know. I'm building mine for scale, but I'm doing not quite 100% scale because, well, for one, as I've told you guys, I've decided to give this an FJ2 designation and a Navy paint job, and it's not going to be anything like what a lot of people were expecting because, for number one, nobody makes quarter scale rotating gear at scale for this airplane yet. And it's a lot of work, and it's extremely expensive. Airworld is simply too damn big. But I decided to go with an FJ2, which has a different landing gear door, a longer nose gear on it, and a smaller diameter wheel. If you look at the Navy version of the FJ2, of the F-86, they're basically the same airplane. Difference being is the landing gear is up a little bit farther forward. It does not have that great big. It has one door that is straight and then cuts out because of the shock, which it doesn't have the bifolding. It's not because I'm lazy. I don't want to spend $3,000 on landing gear. And not very many people have an FJ2. I do. A lot of the nose configuration I redone is an FJ2 nose. And I'm going to show you guys what I use to form that. And this is something that you're going to have to figure out. But these round files, a bastard file like this, is mainly the main thing. When I come in here, it's a very pronounced tip of the nose, but it's very important that when you get in to shaping this nose, you got it. I am going to fill this in glass, and I'm going to use Bondo, or actually the spot putty that I use, which is Bondo. And I'm going to take it and I'm going to fill all these little voids and all that and cover it. And then I'm going to glass the inside of this a little bit so that it looks right. Now that the final piece of the nose is on, the airplane looks very impressive in its size. It is freaking gorgeous, guys. But the one thing I'm going to emphasize to you now is do not oversound this fuselage. You'll notice I got, it looks like a lot of gaps. This is not, that's glue and ink, because I've not done a final sanding on this. You don't want a flat and perfectly straight fuselage on any airplane. Yeah, I know that sounds stupid, but let me explain it to you. If you're building this, your panel lines and everything you do on this is going to reflect the fact is there is no such thing as a straight airplane. They are filthy dirty. They are not perfect. They get dings and dents. Little things like that are okay to have, especially if you're doing that. We call that weathering. And it adds a lot to the realism of it. What you don't want are big hard lines. This really, you need to learn how to fill with the palm of your hand right where they're bigger, higher, and lower spots. And you're going to find them no matter what you do. This is a higher ridge because that's just how I put it in, and it will dictate it because none of these are ever going to be the same thickness, no matter what you do. So you're going to have to block this. I block this with 80 grit lightly and knock all the big areas down. I use anything flat, and then I use a piece of plywood with some 80 grit. I use it with my hand, and then I and as you can see, it comes down remarkably fast. You want to use long strokes when you're doing this. And you don't want to be putting any pressure on it. That's the trick. No pressure. And this is how, and you can hear it. And go all the way in very long strokes. It doesn't take any pressure whatsoever. You can see it coming right off. Then take your hand. Oh yeah, we're feeling good. Got a little bit of a low spot right in here, and that's fine. I will take and I'll dress that up with some spot putty because there's no way you're going to get that to go. But this looks and feels amazing. Little tiny divots right in here where the tip went in there a little bit too deep. Don't try to sand them out. Don't do it. You will get your thing too thin. If you can push on it in there, you've over sanded it. You got no strength left in your airplane. Just get the high spots. And that's all I'm doing. When you get them down, if you've done your joints right, they'll turn out looking just like that. Anywhere you look. They're deceiving. These joints come out looking beautiful. If you do them the way I showed you, you should be just fine. Don't worry if it's a little higher and a little bit lower and here and there. There's no way to get around that. Now, the one thing I'm going to tell you right now is I fill mine before I start my glassing. And that's because I don't want to be sanding the fiberglass cloth. And you will. We're using Z-epoxy, and it's the best resin that I know of. You can use West Systems, you can use any of that stuff, whatever you're accustomed to using, but I would strongly suggest you reconsider it and go with Z-epoxy because it is compatible with anything you put on it for a top coat. We are using 1 ounce non-starch cloth. I buy mine through Zeroli Plans, but a lot of guys you can get it just about anywhere. I like the Zeroli stuff because it is non-starched. Now, another thing that is a controversial part is the way I do my glassing. And with all these curves and everything, I want this wetted out as good as it can. I want the penetration into the wood as deep as I can get it. And the way I do it is I do equal parts Z-epoxy. I thin it out with denatured alcohol and I brush it on from the middle out and get it over, and I let it just soak into the wood. Don't overfill your stuff, and it will damn near disappear into the wood. You got to watch for air pockets and stuff like that. And the reason I do it this way is because it was the way I was taught to do it. And then you can go through and you can squeegee the second coat on. I use 3 coats of resin, guys. And it may be overkill. It does not take a lot of resin to do this. You're doing 1 ounce of cloth for every yard you put on. Not a big deal. But You don't want it so heavy that you got this great big gigantic wing that's just a monstrosity, or a fuselage that weighs way too damn much. The main thing is building your quality into your model. Now, excuse me, dusty in here. But anyway, all of my panels and everything are getting ready to be filled, final sanded, and this stuff will look just like this when it's all done and filled to where it needs to be and final body work is done. You can come back to this, you fill this with your finger. It's just a gap that has glue in it. When we're done here, we will take, and we're going to be using a spray tack 2K epoxy primer over the top of this. After I blocked it out, the third coat, I will block that out very carefully with some 120 or even 220. And the one thing is that you want to make absolutely perfectly sure is that you have everything done and your glue joints are done. Because one thing that's going to happen if your glue joints are not good in this thing, once that epoxy hits it with the way I do it, it's going to move. When it contracts back down, then it's going to be okay. But if it gets stuck in there, it's going to be crazy. And so glassing is a very easy, very fun thing to do. It's better than anything I've ever done. And then we're going to be doing the chart packing and all this stuff like that, the panel lines and everything else. I'll be using 3/32. Very important that you use a gloss for your chart pack. But on top of that, once we put the epoxy, the 2K primer down, you need to make sure that you're using a high build filling type primer. Don't get a sealer because you can't sand that shit. And you're going to have to do a lot of wet sanding after you get done here to get this thing and get all these stills. The first coat, the first two coats you put down on this fuselage, it'll almost disappear and it'll look crazy. You'll see everything there is. And I'm going to show you how I guide coat these two. And it's just a simple black lacquer, the cheapest thing on the shelf. And you just spray it as long as it's got a fan. Duplicolor makes a cheap one. It's only a couple bucks a can. You spray it, not real heavy, just enough, but you want to make sure it's been dried first. And then after that, it will give you the most amazing results. Guide coating. If you've done any body work on cars and all that, you guys know what I'm talking about. Those of you that don't are going to get schooled on body work because I painted cars I've done it forever. And those of you who know about my airbrushing experiences and all that stuff like that know that I've done a lot of work. I'm just as much as an airbrush artist as killer paint is. So we are going to go through, and now we are done sheeting this fuselage. We're going to get back on the wings. We're still waiting on landing gear, but that is not going to stop us. We are going to make some gear door molds. We're going to be doing a lot of layup after we get this done. I will show you how we will take and we'll actually monocoat this whole entire area, and we will make a panel that comes all the way from here back into here. And we will actually go through underneath after this is done. We'll cut this away after it's glass, because then we have something that we can clamp in. We can make a plywood frame, which is easily reached from underneath. It's not even a problem. Everything else, we'll pull it in here and we'll clamp it in underneath. If you want to put lights in and all that stuff like that, it'll be a good time to do this and make this a screwed in piece that actually is there. And that's why I didn't worry about too much about this area here being all one piece all the way to the nose. I wanted to make sure this went all the way to the back, because a lot of this is getting cut away anyway, and this has all been reinforced. If you guys have been watching the video, every bit of this airplane has been completely reinforced on all of these seams that are in there. These are not butted. These are all overlapped seams. So this is another thing that our preliminary went through and filled to get that fillet in there. These little pinholes and stuff, we'll address those as we go. And that's part of the final sanding before glass. Anything else that's on there is just a matter of just hitting it and getting it done. So where we're at now is the final phase on this, and then we'll be back with the next episode, and we should be completely all spot puttied completely out. This thing will be all awesome, and we're going to finish up the gear doors. This is going to stay open until I get the wire run through it. I'll go down and get that, and then we put that. We can do the final sanding on the rest of this. And some guys asked me here to show the taper of the tail. And that's what it looks like, guys. It's actually, when it's laying flat, it actually looks very nice. It's actually it's a very, very handsome looking fuselage when it's done, and it is not round. So we are going to be doing a lot of finishing up, getting it done, getting it in glass, getting in primer. And once that's shown in gray, you guys probably look at it and go, good. But if you're to this point, you're about ready to start glassing. If you're not going to do panel lines, you're just going to build this as a sport jet and just take it out and fly it. You're going to be able to go and take off from where I'm at and go out there and get your class coat paint or whatever it is you're going to use and go ahead and paint your jet, mark it, do whatever you're going to do. If you're going to follow me and do panel lines, it's going to be a very good way to get the rest of this done. So where we're at now is final body work on the fuselage. And then I'll come back on the wings and get those, the other part of it sheeted. I need to go down and get a few more pieces of 3/8 by quarter so I can get the tops done. And then I can cut those big old nasty speed brakes off the bottom. But anyway, so like I said, and those of you that are wondering about the nose, I'm going to explain that a little bit because it is a troublesome piece to do. And okay. And that's what the nose looks like, or should be pretty damn close to once you get it. One thing you got to do is look from the top down. And you got to establish a center line, which is right here. And you want to run a center line all the way to here, which is right there. And then I file. Now, one thing, if you've not sheeted your nose yet on this part, don't try to insert in dead center and go out. That was on my part, and that's why I got so much Bondo on it. Funny enough, this fuselage weight on this whole entire fuselage right now, even with the tailplanes, everything, so far, the entire airplane, with it now being sheeted, with everything, but without a lot of the electronics right now, we're only at 12 pounds. Once the landing gear and the turbine go in, it'll be close to 18 pounds. And with all the rest of the electronic servos and everything else, I'm expecting this airplane to be right at 45 pounds is all she's going to be. And the paint weight's not going to be that much. But once you come up and you look at your side view of everything, you got to remember, this is not, it's rounded. It's got a big bull nose under. That's where the radar is. There'll be a big black painting right around in here. And it gets a lot of screw detail and stuff like that in there too. As well as this is done. Now, the difference on this MDFJ2, which is what I decided to do, was go ahead and get it because it looks a little bit longer on the FJ2 because of the landing gear reconfiguration on it. So what I did here, I laminated this. If you look right in here, I got all my strap 330 seconds and got it in here and built this out. It needs to be a little bit rounder because that's where the gun camera goes. And then I'll just dress this it out. And it's going to need a little bit of nose weight anyway from what I'm figuring. So I'm not worried about that too much. Another thing I want to talk about is how you're going to want to do all this back gluing on everything. And why we're doing this, we come in and glue this stuff. I've reinforced every bit of these in here, glue fillets all the way through them. Both sides. The reinforcement, I told you, you can see all the planking that goes around it. And yes, there is some air spots in there, and that's for me getting in a hurry and trying to figure out how to do it. And I can fix that real fast. It's not even a big deal. And glue anyway, you're just seeing through it. But the one thing is, I'm telling you guys, don't oversand your fuselage. Once all this electronics stuff goes in there and it's glass, you're never going to see it. But sometimes these things have got such a bad curve in them that you're going to have to fill it anyway. And so we got this and that and the other and very, very minor stuff. And this is the other reason why I didn't care about the nose, because this is all getting cut out for the landing gear door bay anyway. It all gets cut out. Then I'll come back in here and I'll add some scrap plywood in the here to here, wherever it measures out on the actual drawing to make that FJT landing gear door. And as you can see, it looks like it'd be a real nightmare to get in there to cut out the landing gear pod. It's not, because once this is all cut out, that is easy to get to, very easy to get bolts and nuts and everything else into. So I just do it this way. You come in, you want to make sure that you back glued every little bit of everything in here. Just put a little felt of glue around it. Adds a tremendous amount of strength. Don't have to get too crazy with it. Just enough to make it work. This thing here, if I put it in water right now, it'd probably hold water without any problem. And it wouldn't buckle or come loose. And so it's fine. Also, this is why I wasn't too worried about the turbine mount, because the turbine mount goes right in here and it's very easy to get through here. Oh, it's not just lightning, it was just, and then of course I use my alignment pins. My bolts go through here. I use 2 pins to hold this in the back. I have 2 bolts that hold on both sides. I have 2 bolts. They're, I forget what number they are, but anyway, that's what holds the canopy on. The tail surfaces, they're just sitting together, but they're all working good. They're very nicely set up. The rudder's off because I'm going to go ahead and glass it after I fill part of that. And then, of course, we have the speed brakes. And this is another thing. If you guys are following me, we're not done here. This will get sanded off, and that is hardwood. Then there's a channel that goes in here for the actuator to actually sit in. And then there's another channel that goes in there. And that's going to be a removable part. And that's so you can get in and service it or replace it should you have to. So we're not done with a lot of things, but there's a lot of things in this that are just not going to be a big major issue. These are where I left one off, but this is the way those will look. I made my own. You can get, but I am going to order the servo lids and boxes from Mears. And if you guys need to look on that, that's the web address right there. And he has every bit of those things set aside, and he makes a really good, really nice looking gear door or servo hatches. They look like that, but they're already done. You just glue them in, they're done. You just sheet over the top of them and rock and roll. Another thing is this is the part where the body work doesn't take that much time, but I have not sanded my fuselage that much. And I don't intend to. Now, I think a lot of guys have been wanting to know how I set this, how I set my hatch up. 2 metal pins right there. All the RC and it just sits right, and if he opens and closes, and said and done. Then we have pretty much, this is ready to go. And so once this is done, we'll get it in some primer. And before I do this and all that, I'm going to do one more episode on it when I'm showing my what it should look like when the final body work is done. It should look like it's ready to fly with the after the next step is done. All the filling, everything done, it'll be fine. Now, I did preliminary cutout for the landing gear back there. You're going to have to do that, and you just do that by tracing off the back of the wing. But after we do all the rest of this, then we will have, once I bolt all this, you'll actually see where the magic happened here. And then there's a lot of little tiny pieces and things and other little parts that are going on to get all this finished up. So it'll be a really good situation here within the next little bit of time, and we will be looking like, you'll see the difference here after the glass is on it and it's primered. It won't even, I mean, people already asked me how many hours are in this, and I don't even know. So it's impressive. It's a monstrous airplane. So, and it's not even the biggest one that's made there yet. And if you guys want to see something, look at Damo Ferretto's 104 or any of the 104s that have been built. They're very, very big, and they dwarf this thing. They're twice as big as this. So anyway, again, we're coming up to the part where the turning point comes in. We start doing this. Another thing we'll be doing here very soon will be we'll be putting the resting hook, and there's also a tail skid that will go in here too. So we will be making some fiberglass parts that are going to come in. So yes, we will be cutting some stuff out of here and getting things pretty much to the nitty gritty on it. And then it's the fun stuff. It's the building of the scale items that are going to be really cool. And a lot of this stuff will be run with micro servos and a lot of other little odds and ends. We're just going to make this thing. We're going to be using a lot of tubing. We're going to be doing a lot of soldering and a lot of plastic struts. We're going to be doing a lot of that. The cockpit kit will be it's going to be pretty special. So we're going to get onto this and that. We're going to make things go, and then this thing will be set up in a much better area. So again, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the funny papers, and here on out, we're going to be doing a lot of live videos, and the reason is for it is we can get them. And it is 1:37 in the United States here on the West Coast. If you guys get to where you're wanting to know questions, please do ask. And most of you know me. Most of you know me anyway. So give me a call or whatever, and I'm more than happy to get in and answer any more questions on anything you might want to see. If there's anything you want a specific video on this airplane, let me know, and we'll make it happen. Now's the time when we're going to start really making this thing look like a jet, and it's impressive to look at now, and I love it. So, and as you can see, in those of you you're building, I appreciate all the pictures. Keep sending them. I enjoyed speaking to you guys. So this is my passion and what I do, and there's a lot of little things that are going on here that are going to make this a pretty interesting situation coming up. So we're going to start doing some things here with the canopy, getting that finished up, start getting this, the interior done, landing gear, all these other little things, and all the fun stuff that makes this a kick-ass jet. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the funny papers.